Welcome to Coaching in Session,
where limits end and growth begins.
Hosted by Michael Rearden.
This is your space to challenge the ordinary,
unlock your potential,
and step boldly into your next chapter.
Your mindset journey continues.
In 2021, it seems like yesterday, I can remember some of the conversations I've had with family members and loved ones and friends. I can even remember the places that I was residing in, the people who were in my circle at the time. And fast forward, and I can now see all the changes. Got 2 kids, growing business, got a successful podcast. All of this is to say, how did I do it? I wish I could give you a simple 1-2 reason why this is why things are the way they are right now. But the reality is, even if I had planned for this, I wouldn't truly know where I would be today. Now, I say all this because Stephen Covey says to begin with the end in mind. And I couldn't imagine how challenging it would be for someone to think of the end, the goal, and then to magically be there. Because if I think of a goal, let's say my podcast as an example, let's say in order for me to think my podcast would be successful, maybe I would need 1 million downloads per episode, right? Maybe something along those lines. So if I don't have 1 million downloads per episode, then my podcast is not successful. But maybe I can say, I want to be in 90 plus countries. I want to be a top 50 podcast. I want to be, one of the names in the personal development space. All of that's already done. The issue is that wasn't the goal. The goal for me when I started the podcast was don't stop. What does that mean? Don't stop. When I started in 2019 doing YouTube, I started doing motivation and motion. And I talked about this recently on the podcast where I had started, but I stopped. And I remember when I had stopped, I had a really good time with doing motivation and motion. It was my first time doing something along those lines. It was something that was near and dear to my heart. And it was a learning process, to say the least, where I learned about editing. I learned about sound and audio and different programs. And it was something that I got really good at. Now, am I the best in the world? Absolutely not. Do I have a lot of room for improvement? Yes, certainly. But what I can say is that if you listen to episode 1 of the podcast or episode 1 of Motivation and Motion season 1 versus episode 1 of season 15, where we are right now, you're going to notice a big difference. And I always tell people if they really wanted to listen to a bunch of the episodes, to just start on either the nearest 100 or the nearest 50. Meaning, if you start in episode 700, you'll be right around the mark. Right now, we are past 750. So you would probably want to start around 750 if you wanted to fall back on a couple episodes, because the mission is still the same. To help people become better in life, to do better in life, to have a mindset that's going to encourage them to do more and to not allow the limits to dictate their future. So what does that mean, right? How do we get there? Well, I could talk about all the guests that I've had. I could talk about all the episodes I've done, but it all leads to a simple question. What's the benefit of life coaching? Of course, you can go to episode 5 when I talked about it, episode 100 when I talked about it, or 200 when I talked about it. The idea is life coaching can be a benefit to any person in any walk of life. Now, not everyone is going to be able to receive coaching at any given time because maybe you're not ready for it. I can't tell you how many people I turn away. You give me a call, you set up the consultation, we do it, but I give you something that you weren't looking for, and it's a no. Michael, you should work with everybody. No. I work with people who want to change, not people who think they want to change. There's a big difference. And I'm going to truly expand on this because I want people to understand where they are. In life, you're going to have many things that you would like to do, like to try, and then there's going to be many things that you would like to become. Trying can be the easy part. You can do it once, you could do it twice. If it's a good fit, great. If it's not, whatever, right? It's only 1 or 2 times. And maybe you can get it done in the same day, same hour, same week, same month, same year, right? So it doesn't require much life. However, if you want to become something, now we're talking about dedication. We're talking about people who have to put in hours, put in effort in order to get the life that they want. I wish we had a magic wand and we can say, hey, what do you want in life? You want this? Boom, done. But the hard work is going to be done by you, the person, the individual, right? Now, life coaching in itself is relatively new, past 40, 50 years. Of course, there's been coaches in the time before, but we think about how it has become mainstream within this time period. Why are we in a world of coaching and learning from individuals? Why are we in the world of AI and technology, for example, as well? Because people can go to any type of AI program and they can ask them a question. And it could be a life coaching question. They can say, all right, I need you to be my life coach, AI, and I want you to tell me how to fix this issue. Now, you will get some great advice. All right. They will give you some advice. They will give you some steps. And it is yours to either do something with it or it's yours to not do something with it. Now, there is a couple of aspects that we have to address. Number 1 is skin in the game. And then number 2 is individualized answers. Now, the skin in the game aspect is pretty easy to understand. In 2018, when I started the business, one of the things I offered was 2 weeks free of coaching. Common sense, right? 2 weeks free of coaching? Hell yeah, I'll take that offer any day of the week. People will come in, they would do the 2 weeks. After the first 2 weeks, they would do 1 more week and they fell off like it was, ice on a hot day on a roof or something like that. It just fell off. We have to ask ourselves, how do we get there? What happened in those first 2 weeks where you were gung-ho, when you were hungry, when you were showing up, and then the week after you did it, but you did it with a different level of exuberance and invigoration? Because if you had a coach that you paid, that you put some skin in the game, it's not to say that magically you would be better. It's just magically you would do more. Why would someone do more when they pay for something versus if they just got it for free? Because people would have a hard time appreciating what they got for free. Same thing is true in relationships. If a girl just gives it up on the first date, the guy might not see the woman as a valuable person to have in their life. Not saying that she wasn't a virgin or not saying she, does that all the time. I'm just saying that for him, he didn't have to work for it. And we know if we work for something, it feels better than just being given something. Now, this is the mindset question, because if I gave you a car, you would feel extremely happy. You would say, oh my God, I got a car. Oh my goodness, I feel good. But if you work for that car, and I talked to a mindset coach about this, it's so funny on the podcast, where I was like, if you work for the car, it's a different feeling. It's a different feeling. Yes, you still got the car, but this time you work for it. Now, this is not to say that you don't have to worry about the debt or the financing aspects to the vehicle. There's just something to doing it by yourself. I think the best way to do it is not money, but food, right? When it comes to food, if you have ever eaten a grilled cheese that you made, it's okay. But when you eat a grilled cheese by someone else, it's so much better. Now, this is the opposite of what I said, right? If someone is doing something for you, then it should be worse. Versus if you do it for yourself, it should be better. Here I'm saying that there's a different mindset there, right? With food. where you can taste the grilled cheese and you're like, wow, this tastes really good. And this is all into aspirations, anticipation, and then, of course, how much effort you put into something. Because if we think of the world today in food, most people don't want to put in the work to season their food, to cook their food, to prepare their food. Most people will love to go to a drive-thru or walk into a Chipotle and just to get something quick, right? Someone else did the work. We'll give them a couple of dollars. And rightfully so. Maybe in order for us to grill all the food and to prepare everything would be over an hour. And let's say we make $20 an hour. So we are not going to work in our own kitchen for less than what we get paid per hour. But the issue is when you are going to be cooking in your kitchen, oftentimes you're going to cook more than just the one serving. And if you're not, then you're going to have to, look at that in an economical way. I say all this now, right? Because all this is going to be put together is if you knew of a way to get ahead in life, would you take it or would you explore everything by yourself? Like, would you say, I would rather experience life for myself. I don't want the map. I don't want the guide. I remember when I went hiking without a map or without a guide, it led me to being lost. It led me to having to retrace all of my steps and to literally be back at square one. Okay. If I had my map, if I had someone who had walked the trail before I even got on the trail, they would have told me, hey, let's double check our gear. Hey, let's make sure we have the map. Let's make sure we plan our hike. Let's do that. And I failed to do it myself. But if I had a guide, if I had someone there to support me, I'm sure they would have said, hey, let's look at this. Now, if you take two people who don't know anything, and I like to do this as friends, right? You have a friend, right? You have a best friend or a girlfriend or whatever, and you say, hey, can you help me with this project? It's not their responsibility to help you and see you grow. Because even though they are friends, maybe even family members, do you think that they will put you in a position that is greater and above them? Maybe, maybe not, right? I'm not saying that you have all bad friends who are listening to this podcast. All your friends are terrible. You didn't get new friends. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that there are people who will smile at you, act like your friend, but they will be your worst enemy. And you will have a hard time identifying them if you don't have someone who acts almost like a fiduciary and wants the best for you. All of my clients, I want the best for them. I want the best for them. I want them to spend the least amount of money. I want them to maximize their potential and earnings and growth. I want them to have the best careers, the best relationships, the best families. I want that for them. And in no way or know how, mindset, whatever it be, do they have to reciprocate what I feel for them, what I want for them. I don't need them to do that. All right. I want to do that for them, right? I want to be of support. I want to be of service. Well, not every life coach has that mindset, of course. Some life coaches will take your money. They will say, hey, I want this, from you, and you need this from me. So you sign up for my program and you will get you to exactly where you need to be. I don't know if anyone realized, but Coaching in Session is a free podcast. You can get all the game you need for any of your personal development needs. Type in the name of what you're looking for in the title section, and you will find multiple episodes on that topic. Now, if you have a specific need, that's when you want to sign up for a consultation. That's when you want to do the work to get a bit of good, solid advice versus trying to figure out everything by yourself and for yourself. I say all this because when I was going through a lot of problems in my life, I was literally a lone wolf. I was this person that just thought I can do everything myself. And for a very long time, I did do things myself. I didn't need anybody. I just figured out, what do I need to do? I'll do it myself. And even though this is a very selfish way of thinking or residing in that mindset, it led to some negativity, which I wouldn't have thought would have been there because I was already so proactive in my personal development. Personal development doesn't mean you become a nice person. It just means you become a person who is looking for better things in life. I want to be better in this area. I want this to be better for me, right? Sure, we can complain when things go our way. We can complain when things don't go our way, right? But at the end of the day, it's going to be the same. We are where we are because we either chose to take action or we chose inaction. And one of the best things you can get from a life coach is that you're going to get a series of actions, things that you have to do, things that you have to work on, things that you have to improve upon. It is not to say that we look at your faults, it's that we look at who you are and the missing pieces. It's very similar to how Michelangelo, he would begin the sculpting process of, these huge statues in marble. He would make these beautiful pictures, and you have to ask, what would one mistake look like? Oh, I accidentally chopped off their head. Oh, I accidentally chopped off their leg or their finger. Is the whole marble ruined? Of course, I'm sure there's marble glue or something they use for like slight imperfections. But most of the time, they make sure they get it right the first time. We have the luxury in our life, especially here in America, to get it wrong more than once. We can get it wrong 1 time, 2 times, 10 times. And as long as we remain hungry, as long as we remain driven, as long as we remain steadfast to what we would like to see or have in our life, one day we're going to get it. But that aspect of one day, that could be the most challenging part of this whole thing, because why not today? Why not now? I can't tell you how many times I just wanted a quick fix. Okay. If I have relationship problems, I just want a quick fix. I'm having issues with my kids, I just want a quick fix. I'm having family problems, I just want a quick fix. I'm having money problems, I want a quick fix. I'm having, substance problem, I just want a quick fix, right? So I can think of all of the possible things possibly that maybe I don't want to deal with it. I just want the quick fix. All right. Have you ever had a migraine or a headache? You take an Advil and you wait for it to kick in. Imagine if you took an Advil or a drug or a Tylenol where as soon as you took it, the pain went away, right? How many people would take that? Too many people, right? Oh, wait, I don't have to feel an ounce of pain. That's like saying I don't want to feel an ounce of life. Because with life, you're going to have the pains and you're going to have the growths of successes and failures. So we have to understand and associate our life with pain and growth. I'm sure you probably heard about growing pains when someone's a teenager and or just a young adult, and they're growing and they have these growing pains, right? Because now they're growing, they're so tall. Before you know it, you're trying to deal with being an adult now. Men, you have deeper voices. Girls, you might have tenderness in certain areas because everything is developing. This is not to say that we should shy away from who we're becoming, but we shouldn't shy away in who we will become. Because who you are when you're 16 is going to be very different than who you will be at 50. Night and day difference. And we have to understand that. The things that we know, the things that we experience, is only a fraction of what we will live in life. Typically, when you work with a coach, if you work with somebody, a psychologist, a therapist, whoever, you're going to gain many of their wisdoms automatically because you're going to challenge their preconceived notions of the world or themselves. Because they might say, oh, I can't do something. Oh, I've tried. Oh, I'll do it later. I can't tell you how many times we look at, one of those answers or the excuse in a sense is what it is. And we say, not today. We're not going by your standards anymore. We're following mine. And just imagine if you went to a gym as the example, you get a personal trainer, you gave the personal trainer your workout saying, hey, I want to do this workout. And you're already disciplined in doing that workout. Is the personal trainer just going to oblige and take your money and say, okay, I'm doing exactly what you wanted. You should be happy? But the reality is you want someone to push you. Of course, we can use our words and we can be vocal about things and saying, hey, you should tell people what you want to become, what you want as the end result, whatever it be. But yet many people, they shy away from that because they feel as if they're not allotted their dream. They feel as if their dream is so far out of reach. Maybe they have been procrastinating and they have been struggling. And for them to even take some action to see their dream in some semblance of being achieved can be a daunting task. I understand how it could feel to want something in life and to truly try to reach it. And you just always find yourself falling short. I remember one time after, I think it was a night of drinking. It was a college time. It was college days where I don't even think I went home. Or if I went home, I slept for like 10 minutes and then I went to like a party. Where the party, there's a trampoline, there's a pool and things like that. I think I even jumped in the pool, but it was more on the trampoline. And I remember putting my towel around my neck and it was like my cape and it was literally like choking me. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm trying to jump on this trampoline and I'm trying to bite this leaf from the tree, right? I'm like jumping in the trees, trying to bite this leaf as I'm jumping, right? And I keep missing this leaf. I got close a couple times, but I was never able to do it. I was always just so close to it, but I wasn't able to do it. And I had some friends there saying, oh yeah, you can do it. Keep trying. I'm trying. And it just got to the point where I was just like, yeah, I can keep on trying. I can get it. But then I asked myself this question, when I get it, how would I feel? Will I feel any more happy? Will I feel any more proud? Would people like me anymore? And the reality was nothing would have changed. It would have been same old guy, same old person, same old party. It would have been the same old day. However, the story would have been different. I wouldn't say I won, I succeeded. And I think people that get caught up in winning and succeeding only, and life is not about just winning, it's about learning. Sometimes we're going to make mistakes. Sometimes we're going to have errors in our life where we're going to say, man, I'm so glad I learned from that situation. I'm so glad I learned from that mistake. And we walk away with that, or we walk into life with it and saying, okay, now that I'm equipped with some more knowledge and some more wisdom, I can make some real progress. The issue is the real progress that we can make by ourselves is only a fraction of what we can with someone else. There's that African proverb, if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. And that together doesn't mean that you need 100,000 people around you or in your corner or at your back. You just need a very small circle in order to elevate yourself. And I believe that one of the reasons why many people are not living the life that they would like to be living in is because they haven't evaluated their circle enough. And if they did, they're just not in the right frame of mind or structure for that, iron five or that friend circle or that inner circle to do justice for what you would like to become or what you would like to see in life. And sure enough, maybe it's going to be one of those things that takes some time, that requires a lot of effort versus things that are just kind of given to you. Because if you were, again, in a situation where everything was just given to you, you would not understand someone's worth or something's worth. But when you do it yourself, you can say, wow, this is important to me. This is something big. This is why when you want to do a garage sale, you want to sell everything for maybe 50% of the value you paid for it at minimum, or maybe try to get all of your money back. But the reality is you might get 33% of whatever you paid for it. Sometimes what we perceive as valuable to someone else is not valuable. So when someone looks at your life and they say, I don't really care about your life because I'm more worried about my life, because they don't care about you without conditions, and you shouldn't care about someone without conditions unless you're a parent. So we live in this world eat world or person eat person, where it's just like everyone is trying to win. Everyone is trying to be the last man or last woman. It's going to be very difficult for the majority of people to make any headway or any progress to something better. But there's a magic that can happen. You can get someone to be on your side, to support you, to give you guidance. It's not going to be one of those things where it's just like, All right, I'm going to go reach out to Michael, revenconcepts.com, sign up for a consultation, and all of a sudden, I'm going to be exactly where I want. You're going to either do the work or you're not going to do the work. Maybe you have a preference in your style. You want your coach to be a certain way. Maybe you want them to be in shape. You want them to be tall, a certain religion, a certain culture or ethnicity. You can pick whatever type of coach you want. And what Coaching in Session does really well is we make sure that we have a wide breadth of coaches available to anyone in any walk of life, that you can come in, learn about how someone can help you, and then begin that process. But this is all to say that just because we wish it, just because we deem it for the world and the masses, it doesn't mean that you're going to take advantage of it. So one of the exercises I would love for you to do is to figure out which coach would work best for me. Of course, you just would write it on a paper. You don't have to figure out the coach quite yet, because we can do that quite easily. But you just have everything written on a piece of paper, what type of coach you want, what type of personality, if you want them to be a parent, do you want them to be a doctor, etc. We can go down the list of all the things you would like for your coach to be. I even remember when I started, I was young. I was 28, 29, and people will come work with me and they would say, aren't you too young? You don't have enough real world life experiences. And I say, you're right, I don't have them yet. But with me understanding mindset and with me understanding how people operate from my teaching career and seeing what was in the beginning of the year and what became at the end, I could see that there were many holes, and I knew what the holes were. They were patterns for destruction. They were patterns for anti-growth. They were patterns for stagnancy. They were patterns for problems. So this is all to say that right now, if you're having a problem, if you're having a hard time, to seek out a coach, to seek out a mentor, to seek out a guide, to seek out someone who's going to help you through what the process is. Of course, you can stick with us, revenconcepts.com. You can continue to listen to the podcast, Coaching in Session. Give yourself many different avenues and ventures that are going to help you grow in life, that are going to help you be more. Because the thing about life coaching is, yeah, sure, you can get a life coach and you can see some benefits early on, but you should see life-changing things happen. And if you don't see them, either the coach is not fully helping you or you're not fully helping yourself and diving into what is the possibility of your change. The change can be small. It doesn't have to be crazy big, but it does have to be something right now. You can get the skin in the game by, of course, paying for coaching and getting support in that way. You can get skin in the game by buying somebody's book or following one of their YouTube channels and being a subscriber or a member. That right there can also be good enough. This is to say that there's a lot of things that can adjust, sometimes for the better and sometimes for the worse. What we would like, or what I would love to see individuals do or be in the world, is for them to adjust to the better, to have them get the tools, the resources, and the people that are going to help them grow in life and not stay the same. The benefits of a life coach are going to be someone who's going to help you along the way. And even though you might want to quit, they're going to support you. They're going to be your biggest cheerleader, and they're going to make sure that your goal is their goal and that goal comes into fruition. So it's a matter of time before you can get what you're aiming for. You just have to know the target and keep on being hungry until you get it. That is what life coaching can do for you.